uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be. There aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode. This is episode 55, 4. Oh, I don't know what it is now. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but thank you for coming by and spending your afternoon with us. Just got to get a few other things taken care of here. There's some stuff I'm going to be sharing with you all today. So I want to make sure that I got everything that I need. Entire screen. Where are we? There we go. All right. So there we go. Should have had that done ahead of time, but take that down for now. Thank you for coming and spending your day with me or your afternoon. My name is Aaron Bowman. You are now listening to the Rebel Alliance podcast. Little disoriented today. And of course, as soon as I start, my phone starts ringing as always. So that being said, today we're going to be talking about the power of your voice and advocating for change in your local government, or just talking about getting out there and getting your voice heard. There was a couple YouTube comments, and where people had said, and I don't have them in front of me, but basically that better off just living in the private and not trying to make any change. And I agree with what this individual said, part of it, but I also think that there is a point in a place in time, or a time when things need to be said, because these elected officials are just running amok, and they're wasting time on certain things. So I've got a couple different audios that I'm going to share with you today. One is from if you don't know who he is, he has the American Bible Society. So whether you're religious or not, his historical stuff is really good when it comes to our founding of our country and our founding fathers and everything like that. But I was listening to Dave Barton talk about America's forgotten history and heroes, and a part of this really just stuck out to me. So I only took like about a 10-minute clip that I'm going to share. I'll post the whole other I think it's like about 25 minutes, the whole audio on East Coast PMA for you to listen to, with links back to where I got it from. So to give credit where credit's due. So let's get the housekeeping out of the way, and then we'll get right into today's stuff. So as always, if you are watching either on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook group, you're listening to the podcast on whatever platform, get over to the YouTube channel or Rumble channel, or get request access to the Facebook group. A hard time talking today. I think I've had way too much coffee, but let me know where you're watching from. Leave comments. I like to reply to the comments. Sometimes I use the comments in questions in the comments in videos. So let me know about that. Also, make sure you put your stuff there. I am just shutting off my phone now because it just has not stopped ringing. We've been dealing, not we, but I've been working on some stuff with other individuals in regards to their associations, and I'll probably talk about this in a future date. But again, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's try to stay on topic and on point today, and let's talk about the housekeeping. So if you are looking for more information, if you want to get caught up on old episodes or past episodes, reruns or what have you, I haven't done any rerun shows yet, but if you want more information, want to read some of the blog posts, head over to eastcoastpma.com. It was down early this morning, back up, some issues with the server, but you can go over there for more content. Now, right around the corner in a few weeks, we're going to have our free call with the PMA Manifesto group, the two Angelas and Erica. And if you need more information on what's going on over there, the stuff I do with them, if you are looking for your a way to start your own association and you really want to roll up your sleeves and write your own documents, well, then you can go over and pick up either the templates, the DIY templates from the PMA Manifesto or East Coast PMA. They are color coded. They are really, we took our time putting these together, so you can get them for an association, a ministry, a church, and you can really tailor them to the way you need them to work for your association or your ministry or whatever it is that you're going to be putting together. And then there's examples in there and everything else. So it's a real good purchase if you're looking to do it yourself without hiring somebody. And it's just, I think it's going to be money well spent as opposed to going to some of these other people out there that quote unquote, handle associations. Real quick before I get off topic, let me just finish the housekeeping, then I'll talk about this. Last thing is, if you're looking to take back some of your computer sovereignty, as we're all trying to live a more sovereign lifestyle with a leaner, less intrusive government, one way of doing that is taking back our computer sovereignty. And that's by going over to the peeps over at Start9, picking up one of their systems there. And if you do, you can use code Rebel Alliance for 9% off, which is huge. I didn't have that when I purchased mine, and I use mine to run everything from lightning payments to encrypted text messages to blog posts. You can use Ghost. There's a whole slew of things you can do with it. One thing I do like is being able to run like my own version of PayPal and not have to deal with any of these other third-party companies. It's all on my server, my information, and it's not that big. It's maybe the size of a shoebox, a little bit smaller. I know they came out with some newer stuff. Mine's about this half the size of a shoebox. So, and it's like maybe that thick. So anyways, that being said, that's housekeeping. I'm turning on the comments here. So if anybody jumps on and wants to leave a comment, be more than happy to answer any questions you have online. But as I was talking about documents, this one individual I was talking to the other day had purchased documents through somebody else. These people charged them an exuberant amount of money for basically toilet paper because they got stuff that was just carbon copied from somebody else and wasn't really and I just got something in my eye. Boy, today's going to be a challenge. But well, at least it's the eye that doesn't work. So that being said, she got these documents, and now all of a sudden she's got people showing up at her door after operating for a while. And of course, she reached out to who she got the documents from, and they were like, ghost, like, hey, thanks for your, money that, was a real large amount. And now we're not going to provide you any support, or at least point you in the right direction or answer any questions. It's just like they don't exist. Posted stuff in their Facebook group, no answers. That's one thing I can at least say. If my number's out there, if you call me or text me or set up a time to talk with me, I'll take the time to help answer your questions and get you at least pointed in the right direction. So that being said, this topic kind of has been on my mind for a little bit. This whole voicing your using your voice to, advocate for change in your local government, keeping the local officials, to keep them to toe the line, I guess, is the best way to put it when it comes to what they're supposed to be doing for the people they represent in your town. Now, where I'm at, we have towns and counties. So, you might be somewhere they have boroughs or something else, villages, that sort of thing. But actually, I think we have like small village, or they're considered village areas in our area. But most of the time we go by towns and counties. So within my town, we do have UConn. So it's a large, school within a very small rural town. And you'll see the video I'm going to play is from my comments last night at the town council, because I can't always make the meetings, and I don't always have something to say. If I'm going to say something, I want it to, I want to have a reason for my comments to the board, whether it's the Board of Ed, the town council, one of the different committees that are out there. And I watched a video of the last town council meeting, and it was just it was horrendous, and just some of the things that went on, and like this whole wordplay stuff. And we'll get into it in a little bit, but what kind of got me down this path was listening to David Barton on this audio he had on, and I just happened to catch it while listening to Family Talk, and I searched for it, found it, and he makes some really good points about making change at the local level. There's not much we can really do at the national level, and he breaks down some numbers. Like I said, I'm going to play about 10 minutes for you, and then I'll link it. It'll be up on East Coast PMA if you want to listen to the full audio. And whether you're a religious person or not, he makes some very good points. And I think that you could do this. What he's talking about when he talks about these registered voters is, having an association that gets together for that common goal. Maybe it's to, get together to vote a certain way or to make change within the community or to have voices heard. Or maybe it's, hey, it's just, you got some people together and you want to go support each other. And, it was interesting because I threw up a poll on our, on the cesspool that is Facebook that I use as a realtor and other things, with family that are far away to share photos and whatnot. But anyways, I'm in the local town page, and I just put up a poll just out of curiosity. And it was, how many of you have, that live in the area have gone to local board meetings and voiced your opinion? And I was like, I've been to the board meeting. I've never gone. We can voice our opinion, stuff like that. And then I left it open for people to send, to write in their own stuff. So I was surprised, like the out of the number of people that did the poll, and I don't have it in front of me. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. How many people actually commented? So it doesn't tell me how many people. So there was 39 votes and 9 comments, and out of the 39 votes, 58% of the people said they have gone to one town meeting or another and have spoken. 15% said never spoken. 1% said just don't care. The one other percent said there are meetings we can go to speak out, and then there were 10% that said they sent in letters, and 15% that sent an email concerns to the board of their choosing, whoever they were talking to. So I found that pretty helpful, that actually people do go to these meetings. I mean, the few that I've been to, I've pretty much been the only one there for public comments. But before I get into my public comments and what I said last night, I'm going to play this right here for you. I'm going to pull this up and I'm gonna play this, and I think you're gonna like what everybody talks about making a change and the national level and protesting and all this other stuff. But if you listen to what he's saying, it's really easier than we think. So let me play this for you. Oh, really? You can't hear anything? All right. Let me see what is going on. You should be able to. That's annoying. Well, maybe if I really, you can't hear anything. Oh, that stinks. Can you hear? Let me know if you can hear this when I play this other video. All right. So it was in previous live streams also. Thanks, Daniel. I thought with Yard Stream, if I brought something up, you would be able to hear it. That is going to be annoying. Wow. All right. Well, that's good to know. All right. Thank you. So I'm going to have to figure out why in Yard Stream it doesn't bring up the audio when I'm doing it. Let me see if I do it this way. Let me just bear with me here for a second. I'm going to try something. I don't know if this is going to work. We're gonna see what we can do here. Let me know if you hear anything this way. If I bring it up, let's see.
And national is where we can have the least impact. We can have a whole lot more.
Can you hear anything
now?
now?
We can nationally. Look, I've been involved in national politics for a long.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work either. All right, so that really puts a monkey wrench into what I wanted to do. Oh, you can hear that. All right, I'm going to go back to that then. And thank God, Daniel, you're on today because you're a lifesaver. Thank you. So let me put this back on for you.
What we have right now, the major problem we're facing is we have an obsession on national focus. Let me see if I can put this in perspective. Here's the issue. If I talk to a group and I say, okay, guys, who's the president of the United States? They can all tell me. If I say, who's the president of your local school board? I get blank stares. If I say, name 3 federal legislators, easy. Name 3 legislators at the city level. Give me 3 city council members. Can't do it. We know so much more about what's going on nationally than we do locally. And national is where we can have the least impact. We can have a whole lot more impact locally than we can nationally. Look, I've been involved in national politics for a long time, and there's a lot of things we can't get done. There's a lot of people we can't change their minds, but it's real different at the local level. And so that focus, that obsession with the national focus has got to be replaced with a local focus. And this goes to revivals as well. If we're talking about having revivals, it's an interesting thing about revivals. There are no national revivals. Wait a minute. Sure there are. The Great Awakening, no. That's a local revival. The Great Awakening, we think it's a national revival. And the reason we think it's a national revival is we see what happened with George Whitefield. George Whitefield, amazing, amazing guy. What this guy did was he delivered about 34 years of preaching, 18,000 sermons, and grab this as a stat. 80% of all Americans physically heard him preach a sermon. How is that possible? Real easy. He was the chaplain in Georgia. He got on his horse in Georgia and he rode to Maine, which was then part of Massachusetts, didn't become a state until 50 years later. He rode to Maine, as far north as you go in America, and he preached the gospel in every town he went through. Then he turned around and rode from Maine back to Georgia where he was chaplain, but he took a different route, preaching every town he went through. Then when he got to Georgia, he turned around and rode back to Maine. He did that 7 times, 34 years, 18,000 sermons. The reason 80% of Americans physically heard him preach a sermon is because he's in 80% of the towns in America. I mean, that's where he went. And what happened was when a revival would break out in a local town, it would be the local pastors that would keep it going. It was not a national revival. It was thousands of communities that had a revival. So it's local revivals. And when you get a bunch of local revivals going, that's when you have a national revival. So they occur locally rather than nationally. And it's the same thing when you look at the American War for Independence. If you try to name the battles, we can come up with 3 or 4 usually. There's 137 battles in the American War for Independence. Just for safety, I'm going to say there's more than 120, but there's 137. It's interesting. If you look at the names of these battles, most of them you've never heard, and that's because they were all local battles. We won so many local battles that we won the national war. But again, these were battles in every community. The British would come town to town, and people would rise up and say, no, you're not going to do that here, and we're going to make sure you don't do it here. The leader of the Battle of Lexington was Pastor Jonas Clark, who took 70 guys from his church out there to face the 700 British. The leader of the Battle of North Ritchie Concord was Reverend William Emerson, who took 400 guys out there to stop the British coming over the bridge. The leader of the road to Boston, there were 4,500 people that showed up, and they were led by pastors like Benjamin Boss and Payson Phillips. When you get to the Battle of Bunker Hill, there's Joseph Willard, who said, well, I got 2 companies here in the church. Let's go get with the other churches. We'll defend Boston. It was all local. And that's where we win the American War for Independence, because we won so many local battles. So looking at what happens, that obsession with the national focus has got to be replaced with much more of a local focus. And that also is voting. If I take you through the stats on voting, there's 3 requirements to be a voter in the United States. 2 are constitutional, 1 statutory. Constitutionally, if you're 18 years old and you're a legal citizen, you can vote. 100% of people who meet those 2 standards can vote. The 3rd requirement is we want you to register to vote. That way we make sure you don't vote 7 times or somebody doesn't vote 7 times for you. This is where it breaks down. 65.3% of American adults are registered to vote. We have more than 100 million American adults who have said, I don't care what happens to the country, I ain't going to be part of it. And you see that also breaks down to Christians, about 40 million professing evangelical Christians not even registered to vote. So they can't even be salt and light even if they wanted to. And the culture would be very different if they were to get engaged. But when you look at the turnouts at the presidential level, the last 11 presidential elections, the average voter turnout is 54%. That's 54% of registered voters. That's 54% of 65.3%, which means only 36% of adults vote for president, and takes half of that to win 18%. The last 11 presidential elections, 1 out of 5 Americans has chosen the president. 4 out of 5 did not choose the president. When it comes to off-year elections, the last 21 off-year elections we've had, and that's where we choose our governors and U.S. senators, and that's where we choose our state and federal legislators. Last 21 off-year elections, the voter turnout has been 38%, but that's 38% of 65%, which means 26% actually vote for governor and senator, et cetera. It takes half that to win. So for the last 21 off-year elections, 1 out of 8 Americans has chosen our governors and our senators and our congressmen. 7 out of 8 have not. And when you get to the local level, the average voter turnout at the local level is only 6%. But that's 6% of 65%, which is the registered voters, which means your actual voter turnout is only 4% of adults. And it takes half of that to win, which is 2%. Now, let me show you why this is important. If you'll take something like Los Angeles, The city of Los Angeles is the second largest city in the United States. The city of Los Angeles is larger than the population of 23 separate individual states. So if you're Eric Garcetti, mayor of Los Angeles, that's like being governor in 23 states. Eric Garcetti brags about the fact that he was elected with 2.9% of the vote. He was extremely church hostile. Everything else is essential, but churches are not. Pot shops are essential, liquor shops essential, big box stores essential. Churches definitely not. There's enough churches in Los Angeles have anybody they want for mayor, but not when you have a 2.9% voter turnout. You have the same thing that happened in Houston. In Houston, it's larger than 20 separate states. It's the fourth largest city in the nation. They elected Anise Parker mayor with 3.3% of the vote. She was the first open lesbian mayor of Houston, and she passed a city law that said, well, if you say marriage between a man and woman, that is now a hate crime, and I'm going after you. And she did. She went after a bunch of Houston pastors, subpoenaed 17 different forms of communication. I want to see all your text messages, all your emails, everything. Houston's got enough churches to have anybody they want mayor, and yet they had a really faith-hostile mayor. If I take you to Fort Worth, the 13th largest city in the United States, this is personal to me because I grew up right on the outskirts of Fort Worth in a little town. That's still where we go for our groceries and everything else. In Fort Worth, 6 years ago, the school board there in Fort Worth, Board of Education said, you know, we've looked at this gender stuff and we just don't think that there's anything there. So we're going to let kids choose whatever bathroom they want, and kids can choose whatever locker room they want, and they can choose whatever shower they want. We're just not going to do genders in Fort Worth schools anymore. Now, interestingly, that was picked up at the time by the Secretary of Education for President Obama, Arnie Duncan. He said, I should have thought of that. What a brilliant idea. So they came out with a plan that says any school that gets federal funding can't do gender. You're not going to do that anymore. And that's 97% of the public schools in America. This is where the gender stuff came in. Now, the reason this is disturbing to me is it came out of Fort Worth. And if you don't know, the nickname of Fort Worth, we call it Cowtown, USA. It is a cowboy town. That's how it was founded. That's still where it is. I looked in Fort Worth. We've got 918,000 there. We're the 13th largest city in the nation. And I looked to see the president of the school board who came up with this silly idea. Turns out he was elected with less than 1,200 votes, 1,182 votes. So I looked in the district where he ran, and I quickly found dozens of evangelical churches in that district. I found one church, a Bible-believing evangelical church that had more than 3,000 registered adult voters in that church. That one church could have kept him from being on the school board, which would have saved the whole nation from 6.5 years of gender nonsense that we've had since then. This is why we've got to have a local focus. This is where you start changing things. And the people you elect, that what we have right now.
All right, let me get the mic back up here. All right, so that was, like I said, from David Barton, and I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, you hear a lot where, oh, we can't make change at the local level. This will never change. But he just used math to show you that. And granted, he's talking about evangelical churches, but what if it was, you know, your association and your local area, and you built this association? You had, you know, maybe your association, there's a couple others that got together and said, you know what, we don't want this clown in office, or this person's not doing what they said, so the next cycle we're going to go out there, we're going to vote them out of office and vote somebody in, or maybe somebody in that group runs. I think that's a great way of making change at the local level. And I've talked at different boards and stuff before, and you know, most of the time I'm the only one there. And so, for example, last night we had a town council meeting, and I just hit on some points that I think needed to be addressed. I wasn't nasty or anything like that. Just kind of made my point that, you know, some of the things that they're doing are a little ridiculous. So I'm going to play this for you now, and well, hopefully you can hear the audio on this too.
Is the opportunity for the public to address the council. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the council? Yes, please come forward. State your name and address. You have a 5-minute limit, and we ask you to be civil and to speak into the microphone so that you can be heard online.
All right, will do. Aaron Bowman, 861 Middle Turnpike, Mansfield, Connecticut. Normally I can't make the meetings. I usually watch everything on the YouTube channel to get caught up on what's going on in town. Last meeting that I watched was pretty disheartening. 10 to 15 minutes. of bickering pertaining to a hearing issue and obstruction of equal opportunity seemed to take up the majority of the beginning of the meeting. And to me personally, with my experience being in the former military, these things should have been handled prior to at least 15 minutes prior to any meeting. All the equipment should have been checked, and that way the bickering and the embarrassment to the board wouldn't have taken place. That being said, continuing with that meeting, there was a good maybe 15, 20 minutes spent on the definition or the terminology of rural character. But lucky for us, lawinsider.com has defined rural character, meaning a quality of landscape dominated by pastoral, agricultural, and forestry. And also the Department of Agriculture, in one of the reports, has defined it as the term rural or rural area, meaning any area other than a city or town that has a population of greater than 50,000 inhabitants. And from my research, Mansfield has approximately 32,000 inhabitants, and 62% of that being the ages of 18 to 24, which I'm assuming makes up most of the college. And then, according to the goals, they were talking about the affordable housing plan. And according to what I found online from the town from 2021, a family of four making less than $78,500 per year, or an individual making less than $54,950 per year, could qualify for the affordable housing in Mansfield. And I know we want to be progressive and we want to make things, add more of this low income to moderate housing in the town, which, every town needs to do that. But seeing that the median household income in town is approximately $45,388, that means that would open up a lot of the low income housing to the majority of the town. So that made me think, towns with the 10% or more that apply or make the law section 830G through the state requiring 10% of the town, or making it better for the town to have 10% or more affordability in housing. Is there any relation to the crime or crime uptake? So I started looking at different towns. I got a fancy old map here from the affordable housing units by the state. And the following town.
Excuse me 1 moment, Ms. Chan, was that the 5-minute limit? Okay.
I'm almost
Go right
done. I'll
ahead.
finish this up for you.
No, go right ahead. I didn't think it felt right.
No problem.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nope, not at all. So the following towns have 10% or more affordable housing in some of the state's highest crime rates: New London, New Haven, Norwich, Meriden, Torrington, Middletown, Hartford, Enfield, Waterbury, Bridgeport, New Britain. Mansfield has a low crime rate currently with a total of 120 crimes between violent and property annually. Just curious if this will change with the addition of more low-income housing. We'll be putting our current residents at risk. And I haven't heard much talk as far as beefing up the resident troopers in the area. My last thing, which it seems a lot of this has to be a play on words, but I'm just kind of wondering who oversees the Affordable Housing Committee. I was watching one of their videos, and they were talking about displaced people, which then turned into not wanting to use the word homeless people, and that should be removed to use the word unhoused people. I think it's just a play on words and a complete waste of time when there's more important things that need to be addressed within the town. Thank you for all being here tonight. It was nice seeing you all, and hopefully see you next month.
Thank you. I will point out that it's the income data on Mansfield, like so much data, is kind of skewed by the fact that about half of our population is student, and most of those have little or no income. So.
All right, let me get this back up. So that was last night at the town council meeting for the state. And I don't know what's going on with my microphone, falling apart here today, folks. But again, I just kind of wanted to bring this awareness that if you are creating these associations, you're gathering together for your common goal. Don't be afraid to make one of those common goals to change. If you don't like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. If you don't like drag queen story time, they're like keywords that they ban you for. If you don't like drag queen story time, if you don't want, a guy that's dressed up as a woman reading to your kids or shaking his moneymaker, so to speak, in front of them, then these are the things that we can make change at the local level. And when I played that excerpt from David Barton, and like I said, I'll link it, the full audio if you want to listen to the 25 minutes of it on East Coast PMA. He showed that there were churches in his local area. Now, granted, whether you are a believer or not, or a religious or faith-based type person, that's just, let's leave religion to the side of it. I mean, I think it's amazing that they did that, and I would like to see more churches do that and stand up and be out there on the street corner, protecting our people and fighting for what's right. But let's just say you have an association, or you have multiple associations in your area, and everybody gets together and says, what did he say? There was but one guy got voted into the board of ed with 1,100 votes, and one church had over 3,000 registered voters. So what if you had, between all the patriot groups and the freedom groups and everything like that that's in your area, all those people got together, that were from that town, that could vote in that town, and vote, so people like this don't get in there to to groom our children and stuff like that. And I'm not going to get on that whole entire topic. Hey, Frozen Dog, thanks for coming in. You missed all the technical difficulties we've been having today, and I'm caught up on my cords. But I do think, looking at the numbers and how he broke it down, David Barton broke it down for simple, mathematics, math doesn't lie, like they say. And, seeing those numbers and understanding that, okay, there's not that many people really going out there and voting, and getting those groups of people together to make a change, doing it at the local level, just like when he talked about all the different wars throughout the revolution, all the different battles. Yeah, we can name a lot of them, but what he said is like 136, I think he said, that you don't even know of, because it was the local communities going out and standing up against the redcoats. And if we took kind of some of that forgotten knowledge, I guess is the best way to put it, or those fighting tactics, and say, hey, listen, we don't like what's being done in our town, or we don't want these pornographic books in our schools, or we don't want this. And I'm all for letting adults do what they want to do. And if you want to, use fentanyl every day and be a waste, then go for it. Or, if you want to be a productive citizen, that's even better, or a person within your community. But as an adult, you get to make those decisions, and this stuff's being pushed on our children. And I'm not trying to turn this into a, fight the powers to be, but when it comes to kids, but, we just want the kids to be left alone. The majority of people that have kids don't want their kids groomed or anything like that. But if, instead of just getting on Facebook or X or any of the other platforms, and just being a keyboard warrior and reposting videos of other people standing up at board meetings. I mean, how many videos have we seen of parents standing up at board meetings when it comes to the book Gender Queer, I think is what it's called, and other stuff like that? If we actually started doing it within our own community, we'd actually start making a change. But that being said, hopefully this kind of sparks some interest, kind of, maybe lit a little bit of a fire within you to say, you know what, maybe things can be done at the local level. And maybe you want to get an association going to make those changes, and to bring other parents and other individuals and other like-minded people together. I hate using that term. I gotta come up with a better term than like-minded, but getting together to make those changes within your community, based on simple math. And he illustrated it in his talk. There was one guy, like I said, 1,100 votes got him into the board of ed. There was one church that had over 3,000 registered voters that could have all gotten out and said, no, we don't want this stuff in our school, and he would have never got voted in. As simple as that. So anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today. I just kind of wanted to share that audio. I've been wanting to share this for a while, and I've got to figure out why the audio doesn't come over when I share the screen. It should. So I'm going to have to play with that between now and tomorrow. Hopefully I can figure it out for the next time we do it. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same bat channel, as they used to say. But thank you all for watching the replays, the lives, getting in there, sharing this with others that might find this information interesting. And don't be afraid to get out there and talk to your elected officials in your local town. And if you are, bring somebody with you for support. The more, the merrier. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
Uprisings all over the country, maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is